Americans, just like Brits, love a good sandwich, but one thing I didn't know before moving to the United States is that America invented a fair number of its own sandwiches, and one of the more famous ones is the Reuben sandwich. However, after living in the United States for 16 years, I have still somehow never had one. And you might be thinking, ooh, Lawrence, how have you managed that? Well, number one, I'm not Irish American or Jewish, and you'll see why that matters in just a bit. And B, I was saving it for this video, obviously. And so today, in an ongoing series in which I try American foods for the first time, I will be making right here in this kitchen a Reuben sandwich and eating it for your viewing pleasure. And so if you'd like to stay informed on my food tasting journey and you haven't yet subscribed, do that now. In the meantime, our bread bin is empty and we don't have any corned beef. So I'm going to have to head to a place that does. I headed to Kaufman's, a popular Jewish deli in the Chicago suburb of Skokie. And before getting what I wanted, I was lucky enough to speak to the owner, Bette. Firstly, what is a Reuben sandwich? What do you have on it?
Rye bread. Some people butter the rye bread. We don't. Then it's either corned beef or pastrami. That's an individual choice. Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, Thousand Island dressing, which we make ourselves. And then you smash the whole thing together and you eat it.
Do you have a preference over corned beef or pastrami?
For a Reuben, I think I prefer corned beef. By itself, I prefer pastrami. But Chicago is a corned beef town and New York is a pastrami town.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yep.
In fact, it was in cities like New York that the Jewish love of corned beef was passed on to another community, Irish Americans. You see, it turns out that the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a huge influx of both Jewish and Irish immigrants into the United States. These two groups often shacked up in the same neighborhood, leading to the Irish-American adoption of Reuben sandwiches and corned beef and cabbage. Though a staple of American St. Patrick's Day, corned beef isn't especially popular in Ireland itself. I was reading that corned beef and cabbage is popular in both the Jewish communities of the United States and Irish communities.
Yes, but the Irish corned beef is different.
In what way?
So it's a different spice profile. Normally it's done with, I believe, cloves and bay leaves, and it's a thicker slice. It's more the thickness of how we would slice brisket. Boiled cabbage, not fermented sauerkraut. We tried a couple of times to sell Irish corned beef, and we couldn't give it away.
What about at St. Patrick's Day? Did you?
Even then, we had people who called us and said, we'd like corned beef and cabbage meals, and I said, hang on a second, this is Jewish corned beef. What you're talking about is Irish corned beef. It's a very different product.
Right. And the American product, known as the Reuben sandwich, is most certainly a Jewish creation, even if its exact origins are unclear. One story traces it back to the 1930s, when a Lithuanian-born Jewish grocer named Reuben Kulakowski would ask for such a sandwich during a weekly game of poker. Another theory suggests it was named for Arnold Reuben, a German Jewish owner of Reuben's Delicatessen in New York City. His claim was that he invented the sandwich as early as 1914. Either way, reading up on all of this made me want to know more about American Jewish delis like Kaufman's.
This location of Kaufman's was opened in 1963 by Maury Kaufman, who was a survivor of the camps. My family purchased it in the mid-'80s, and we've been at it ever since.
There was a fire, right? Did I hear that?
Well, we've had quite a few things happen in the business. So we had 2 salmonella outbreaks back in the 80s. We had a labor strike in the 90s, and we had a fire in the 2010s.
Quite a lot of drama. You wouldn't get a sense of that, I think, just walking in here now, but that's amazing.
Right.
Wow.
We walk over to the deli counter first. Okay, so let's go this way. Sorry. The first 2 counters are fish counters. So a lot of what you see here are things that we smoke in-house or we make in-house. If you don't want your Reuben on rye bread, you can get it in strudel form.
I saw that on the menu, yeah, I was going to ask about that.
So it's a puff pastry dough with corned beef rolled in with the kraut and Swiss. And then deli meats and cheeses down below, and chopped liver, because what would a Jewish deli be without chopped liver, beef liver, and chicken liver? And then we have the bakery counter. So all the way down the bakery counter, everything that you see here, with the exception of the challah, which comes from New York by way of Israel, is all made in-house. So this is basically the oven room. These are revolving ovens, these 2. This is a deck oven, which is where we bake the rye bread, warming the corned beef. And then the bakery. That side of the table is where breads and rolls are made. This side of the table is pastry. Oh, look what happens here. Sometimes we have broken pieces.
Ooh.
Want some broken pieces?
Can you tell us what it is?
It's a roulade, strawberry roulade.
Oh, wow. Can I just hang here all day? All right, after speaking to Betty at Kaufman's, I feel a bit more confident about making a Reuben sandwich, but embarrassed about showing her the outcome. But we've got the marble right, we've got the corned beef. Lawrence, it's time to make a sandwich. Of course, when I'm not getting paid to make my own lunch, I don't make my own lunch. After all, life as a YouTube sensation means that I'm busier than a children's TV graphic from the 90s. That's why I was thrilled, nay, relieved, to discover Factor 75, a meal delivery service that sends chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals straight to your door. No shopping, no chopping, and the best of all, no chance of me miscalculating portions like I always do. They have fresh and never frozen meals, which is great for me because my freezer is too small. I tried their chicken Florentine, and as ever, I was profoundly pleased with my decision. Plus, they cater to all sorts of diets. Keto, calorie smart, vegetarian. So if you, like me, have ever considered the concept of eating better but weren't quite sure where to start, this is it. So if you're tired of grocery store lines, messy kitchens, or discovering that your well-intentioned meal prep has led to a week of the same meal, check out Factor 75. Head to factor75.com and use code 50LITP to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first box. Yeah, you heard that right, 50% off and free shipping. That's 50LITP at factor75.com. The link is in my description below. Today's recipe comes from Natasha's Kitchen, and this recipe calls for homemade Russian dressing. So we start that with one of my favorite things, mayonnaise. Just put a quarter of a cup inside the bowl. Beautiful, I'd have that on my fries. Then some chili garlic sauce, half a tablespoon of that, half a tablespoon of lemon juice. Geez, that was more like 2. 1.5 teaspoons of creamy horseradish. Oh God, I don't know if I like horseradish. That's that, and then one more. Oh gosh! Horseradish all over my finger. I can't get through to the sink because all of the cameras are in the way. Give me a sec. Oh, Lawrence, you're a YouTube sensation. Get your act together. It's going to be fine. Alright, that's taken care of, and now I actually don't remember how much horseradish I'd put in. Let's just guess. I think I'd only done the one. It's hard to tell, because you've got mayonnaise in there and this. So I don't know how much I've put in. I don't want to overdo it. Good God. I might have just horseradished this thing to death. We're about to find out. 1 garlic clove, minced. I did my best. Same spoon that has mayonnaise on it. Doesn't matter, it's all mixing together. That's the joy of this. You can combine things that you never dreamed possible. Worcestershire sauce, we're very familiar with that. Liam Perrins, of course. Half a teaspoon, put that on that. Half a tablespoon of onions. Slightly more than half a tablespoon, but that's all right. We like onions, don't we, Lawrence? Yes, we do. Great, and then next is paprika. 1/8 of a teaspoon. Are you joking? How do you measure that? I don't. Paprika, only take 1/8 of this. That's going in. And then salt and pepper to taste. I guess I'll just do a few shakes. Oh, look at that, that's a bit much. 3 of each, and then I assume we just whisk it together to make Russian dressing. I've never done before, so I'm gonna have to look at a picture to see what it looks like. Does that look like restaurant quality to you? I think not. Yeah, that looks like what's in the photograph. It's sort of a salmon colour. Thankfully it doesn't taste like salmon. I think that'd be quite weird. So nice, we'll set that to the side, and then we do the other stuff. Now we have to carefully warm up the corned beef, and I say carefully because I do have a habit of setting the kitchen on fire. The purpose here is not to cook the meat, it's just to warm it up for the sandwich. I have here 8 pounds of corned beef, and you might be thinking, Lawrence, that is way too much for one person. Firstly, you underestimate me, and secondly, the recipe is telling me to make 3 servings. 1 for me, 1 for my wife, and 1 for my dog. I don't know. We'll just have a spare sandwich. Alternatively, you could do it with pastrami. This recipe, of course, called for corned beef, so that's what we're going with. But I would be interested to know what it is like with the alternative. All right, I'd say that's enough. Now we throw everything together onto the marble rye, and I'm spreading butter on 6 different slices of bread to make 3 sandwiches. All right, it's about perfect given the size of the bread. And I just read it back to front. Apparently the dressing was supposed to go on before the meat. I'm not sure what kind of a difference that's really going to make, but I'm sure somebody at home will tell me that it's absolutely crucial that you get it in the right order, Lawrence, and that you are an absolute imbecile. If that is the case, live with it. I cannot get the sauerkraut lid off. We're having a big problem here. Come on! Ah, I'm glad you can't see my face. Yeah, it won't budge. We're not having sauerkraut. Sorry, everyone. Why do we think a tea towel's gonna do anything? Oh, yes! Before we actually add that, we have to put on the Swiss cheese, which is going to melt into the sandwich when we put this back in the skillet in just a moment. Right, now apparently we add the sauerkraut. Betty said that just to, you know, do that. All of the sauce just fell out when I did that. So obviously I'm not very good at this. All right, I put the sandwich in the skillet. So I don't want to burn it. Maybe turn it down slightly and see what happens. Okay, I am now ready to try my first ever Reuben sandwich. Nice and warm, straight from the skillet. Without any more faffing about, here goes. Got horseradish on my mouth. The bread, amazing. The corned beef, amazing. The horseradish, excessive. I think I overdid it. With the excessive horseradish, I'd give this 3.5 Lorenzos. With a reduction in horseradish, I might be prepared to go all the way up to 4.5. But I think that one crucial mistake means that this is not how a Reuben sandwich was intended. So maybe to give you an accurate assessment, I'm going to go back to Kaufman's and try theirs. Oh, it really is wrapped as well. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Obviously, I didn't go to that trouble with mine.
Yes, well, I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't need to, I suppose. But I think it goes without saying this is better than mine. Not only that, it's not 5 Lorenzos. This is 7 Lorenzos. That's good. That's actually the best I've ever given anything. It's not just because you're sitting there. You know, I really believe it. So grab that.
There we go.
Okay, that. So this one is pastrami. This is also way better than mine. Oh my gosh, if I wasn't so full, I would devour this right now. That's 8 Lorenzos. So there you have it. A big thank you to Kaufman's, and in particular to Betty for giving us the ultimate deli experience. If you like this video, here's me trying gumbo for the first time. You'll watch that video next. And until the next time, goodbye.